In this podcast episode, Dr. Stacy Sims, an exercise physiologist and nutrition scientist, discusses critical health and nutrition topics with a focus on female physiology. The conversation covers issues like micronutrient deficiencies affecting billions worldwide, the widespread misuse of GLP-1 drugs and their impact on muscle and bone health, gender biases in scientific research, the complexities of female hormonal health, including contraception and menopause, and practical advice on hydration, fasting, supplements, and temperature therapies such as cold plunges and saunas. Dr. Sims highlights a paradox of being overfed and undernourished, pointing out that roughly 2 billion people suffer from micronutrient deficiencies globally. This is largely driven by heavily processed foods in modern diets that offer calories but lack essential micronutrients like iron, copper, selenium, and fat-soluble vitamins. Leafy greens and a wide variety of plants are crucial for supplying these nutrients, and Dr. Sims encourages aiming for diversity through at least 30 different plants weekly, including herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, and sprouted grains. Such dietary diversity supports collagen formation, tendon health, immune function, and cognitive capacity. The problem is compounded by popular eating patterns like fasting with too narrow eating windows, which reduce opportunities to consume adequate nutrients. Supplements are generally less effective than real food, and indiscriminate use can backfire, for example with iron supplements inhibiting absorption if taken improperly or in excess. One core topic discussed is the historical and ongoing lack of female representation in biomedical research. This stems not only from patriarchal structures, but also from the complexity of female physiology, especially the menstrual cycle, which makes consistent data gathering challenging. As a result, women's health has been largely generalized from male-centric studies. Important female-specific conditions like endometriosis and PCOS remain poorly understood. Dr. Sims discusses genetic and epigenetic differences, such as the greater stress resilience of X female fetuses compared to XY males, and how this biological foundation has been largely ignored in clinical research and treatment design. The dismissal or oversimplification of female physiology has led to poorly tailored medical recommendations, especially with sex hormones and reproductive health. The discussion delves into the effects of oral contraceptives, OCs, on female brain development, particularly on the amygdala when contraception is started during adolescence. Studies involving fMRI have shown that younger females, 14 to 16 years old, taking OCs do not develop a robust amygdala, and these changes appear irreversible during this critical developmental window. This contrasts with adult women who can recover amygdala volume after stopping OCs. The altered development may increase vulnerability to anxiety and emotional regulation difficulties. Dr. Sims critiques the widespread prescribing of OCs to young girls for menstrual regulation or symptom management without fully understanding long-term brain and endocrine consequences. She compares this to how men would likely never tolerate similar hormonal disruptions due to the substantial side effects on testosterone and bone health. GLP-1 receptor agonists, popular for weight loss, have gained massive attention but come with hidden risks, especially for women's muscle and bone health. Dr. Sims explains that for every 10 pounds lost on GLP-1 medications, up to 4 pounds may come from muscle, not fat. This steep loss of lean muscle mass compromises glucose metabolism, immunity, cognitive function, and overall longevity. The problem is similar to what was observed in extreme weight loss cases like The Biggest Loser. Additionally, weight regained after GLP-1 discontinuation tends to be fat, often worse than before treatment, with cardiometabolic risks rising again. Dr. Sims stresses the necessity of integrating lifestyle interventions, strength training, proper nutrition, and behavior therapy alongside any pharmacological weight loss to preserve muscle and bone and sustain long-term metabolic health. Muscle is more than aesthetics. It is a vital organ supporting metabolic health, bone density, brain function, and longevity. There is an endemic lack of peak bone mass and muscle quality among young adults today, increasing risks of osteoporosis and sarcopenia earlier in life, worsened by sedentary lifestyles and potentially GLP-1 usage. Dr. Sims encourages a muscle-centric approach, focusing on what can be gained by building muscle rather than solely on weight or fat loss. For women, lifting heavy weights is particularly important to retain neuromuscular function and counteract hormonal declines, especially estrogen's role in muscle protein functioning. The myth of getting bulky is debunked. Meaningful hypertrophy requires intense, prolonged training and dietary support, which few recreational lifters do. The conversation touches on disrupted sleep caused by inadequate energy intake, mainly in female athletes with low energy availability. Continuous glucose monitoring reveals that hypoglycemic episodes during sleep cause frequent awakenings and poor recovery. A small protein bolus, about 20 grams from Greek yogurt or pea protein alternatives, before bed can stabilize blood glucose and improve sleep architecture. Further, fasting and time-restricted eating affect men and women differently due to hormonal and circadian rhythm variations. Women's appetite hormones and cortisol responses make extended morning fasting more stressful, resulting in afternoon energy crashes and carb cravings. Women benefit from eating soon after waking and spreading calories earlier in the day to support hormonal balance and metabolic health. Dr. Sims addresses the hype around peptide therapies marketed for performance enhancement and recovery. Peptides like TB500 and BPC157 are short chains of amino acids intended to promote tissue repair, sometimes derived from gastric juices. However, these products lack rigorous human research and are often unregulated, sometimes containing harmful contaminants like heavy metals. Given the current risk-benefit ratio, Dr. Sims advises caution and encourages evidence-backed alternatives such as controlled heat exposure, saunas, and cold exposure plunges. These therapies stimulate heat shock proteins, reduce inflammation, support endocrine function, and improve metabolic and cardiovascular health without the risks peptides present. A surprising and practical segment covers hydration science. Most people drink plain water excessively and inefficiently because the intestines require sodium and glucose alongside water to absorb fluids properly. Pure water alone can cause dilution, leading the body to excrete excess fluid quickly rather than hydrating tissues, often resulting in feelings of dehydration despite high intake. Adding a pinch of salt, about 1/16 teaspoon per 25 ounces, to water optimizes absorption, reduces thirst, lessens bloating, and can prevent the sensation of dehydration. Dr. Sims explains this is due to intestinal pressure mechanisms needing balanced sodium to enable electrolyte and fluid uptake. With perimenopause and menopause affecting millions, Dr. Sims advocates focusing on foundational health pillars tailored to this stage, prioritizing quality sleep, increasing fiber intake to support gut microbiome diversity and hormonal balance, engaging in strength training to mitigate muscle and bone loss, and finding supportive social communities to cope with mood and cognitive changes. Hormone replacement therapy, HRT, is useful for specific, severe symptoms like brain fog or mood swings, but is not universally required and should not be viewed as a one-size-fits-all solution. The conversation emphasizes the nuanced role of endogenous versus exogenous hormones and how lifestyle interventions remain central. Dr. Sims challenges popular wellness trends by explaining sex-specific responses to temperature therapies. Extreme cold exposure, 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, triggers a potent sympathetic stress response in women, but does not induce beneficial adaptations due to female thermoregulation differences. Women respond better metabolically and endocrinologically to milder cold, 14-16 degrees Celsius, which is uncomfortable but sustainable. Heat exposure offers robust benefits for women, improving cardiovascular function, vascular compliance, neurotransmitter balance, and metabolic control. Women tend to tolerate and benefit more from sauna use due to natural monthly internal temperature variations. Protocols suggest moderate heat sessions, 80°, for about 10 minutes, several times a week, as an effective approach. Despite some controversy, creatine is presented as a safe, well-researched supplement with particular benefits for women aged 18 to 60. Creatine supports muscle energetics, brain metabolism, gut lining integrity, and bone density. Dosages of 3 to 5 grams daily saturate tissues within weeks, enhancing stress resilience and cognitive function. Women tend to benefit disproportionately compared to men in studies, especially in brain fog and fatigue reduction. There are differences in how creatine is manufactured, with some processes involving potentially harmful chemicals. consumers should seek products purified by brands with water wash patents like Creapure. While acute high doses may help shift workers or those with sleep issues, including ADHD, chronic supplementation is generally the safer and more effective strategy. The episode also reflects on societal influences impacting nutrition and health behaviors. Challenges like food deserts, childcare, and work burdens disproportionately impacting women, and misinformation driven by commercial interests complicate optimal health efforts. The false narrative that thinness equals health is critiqued as it ignores the importance of functional strength and metabolic health. Dr. Sims calls for a middle ground approach rather than extremes, moderate, sustainable lifestyle changes that cater to individual physiology and life circumstances. Towards the end, Dr. Sims shares concerns about how artificial intelligence and big data are currently amplifying research gaps and misinformation due to a lack of female data representation. Most datasets and wearables default to male baselines, leading to misinterpretations of women's physiology. For example, changes in heart rate variability or core temperature due to ovulation being falsely flagged as illness. Closing this research gap and incorporating sex-specific parameters in AI-driven health tools is critical for advancing women's health understanding and personalized care.